Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, spiritual identity, while women who are going through perimenopause journey, that's one thing that's common. And that's what we're going to talk today with one of the globally renowned MD. And he is also a spiritual healer, Dr. Carlos, who is with me, a psychotherapist, a spiritual teacher, an author, and also he has written a lot on transformation on consciousness. Thank you so much, and namaste.
Namaste. Thanks for having me here and for spontaneously inviting me. I am very honored. So when we look at any age, I have realized that there is a very important part that usually gets omitted in our education. Be it women that are young or being that women that are in middle age or even old, there is a educational flaw in not inspiring us to find out what the human promise entails. What I mean by the human promise is the realm of possibility, not the realm of facts which are determined by third-dimensional awareness, but the ability to transcend that and include one's history. And when we transcend, we find ourselves that we, each one, I, you, she, it, as individuals, are not what we have thought we are. We need first to transform the ability to experience life so that the things that we're trying to change clear up in the process of living, and that's transformation of consciousness. But there is another step to transformation of consciousness, which is realization of who we are. The inquiry of the very nature of reality of who each one is a full-time job. Because we have to realize that whether we are from one continent or another, whether we are from one social class or another, we have a common denominator, which is the I amness, the beingness, the essence. And when that essence is realized, problems fall into a different category. Not that problems get solved instantaneously, but all kinds of altering situations. And this life is full of them because one constant is change. Everything changes. We age physically, we age intellectually, and we don't age emotionally. So we answer to the challenges with emotions, which are usually anchored in our teenage years or earlier. And therefore, we don't know how to access a solution. So we are in the problem-solving situation for which the brain is very nice and very good, but it doesn't bring peace. What brings peace? The settling of all these thoughts and all these experiences into a little lake that we have inside that calms the mind. Let's imagine for 1 second that all these thoughts that are going around are just little dust bites that fall to the bottom of the lake. And if we don't agitate it, we have a clear lake. If we don't agitate our life, we have a clear life. And what is our true identity? I think it's life. Our surname is life. It is not race, creed, color, age, nationality, sexual orientation. Those are positions that throughout life we take. But who we are essentially is light. And light has a purpose. And it's obvious, it's to illuminate. So when we transmute our awareness, not transform, but transmute into altering the programming that is even in our genetic entity, we begin to first de-identify from all these false identifications. In Sufism, they're called nafs, or subpersonalities, and relate to the inquiry first and sit in the question of who am I, till we get a response from within. That is healing in itself.
Okay, so I think that's very insightful and very deep, what you talked about, that it's not transformation, it's transmute. So what are the tools women can do to attain the spiritual healing that you're talking about? You know, you are thinking of a woman who's not only going through a physical change, but you mentioned about some of the trauma that could have transpired when they were a teenage year. And
Yeah.
that all comes into play. Now you have your physical looks changing, your trauma coming back, and then some emotional mood swings with the hormone going up and down.
Right.
What can they do?
So I can offer a series of things. One is a psychospiritual integration process, which deals with the non-growing up of the emotional self. We have a spiritual self, we have a social self, we have an emotional self, and a physical self. And all these 5 selves are embedded in each other. They're not clearly separated. But we need to separate them and create boundaries for each one of them. And for that, I designed this in the 70s, a process that brings about emotional maturity. Once emotional maturity is programmed into the system, then we see, men or women, we see our condition with different eyes. And then an alliance gets produced between the intellect and the emotions and the spiritual self. And this spiritual self is the guiding force. So number 1 is that. Number 2 is we need to expose ourselves. We need to expose these ladies that are going through these situations to another vibratory frequency, another point of vision, not point of view, but point of vision, from where the spiritual identity ensues as an experience that is ecstatic, that is mind-altering, that is non-ordinary. And today, we have many means for that, since we are also in a psychedelic revolution and renaissance. And 50 years ago, I was around, and we would use these substances to produce enlightenment in a right context, not for everybody, but in a right context. It works miracles.
So talk to us a little bit more about the psychedelics and how one can use it. Do we need a professional, or how does it work?
Well, I like to say that we need someone that has walked the path, not someone that has tried the psychedelic once and wants to have their neighbor experience it. That could be dangerous, and that led to the whole criminalization in the 70s, because we were living in a free place during the late 60s and 70s, early 70s. And then it got too out of hand, and the authorities found it pertinent to forbid them. And we have lived 50 years of prohibition. But now it's opening up again. And it's opening up, and different substances are approved and will be approved in the near future for treatment of climateric depression, or for treatment of the disconcerted space that somebody has when body image changes and soul is not at hand. It is only a concept. So we need to transform this concept into a construct for which we are responsible. And this construct needs to become an experience. And when this experience happens, we change residence. We change from a place of submission to the system, which is a discarding system. I call it a condom society, because it uses itself up, and it uses people for other than their spiritual illumination. It uses people for fulfilling jobs, fitting in, being social, being married, being divorced, but not being. And what I offer is beingness.
I think the spiritual illumination that you talked about is such a powerful concept, right? It's really understanding your being, what you're talking about, understanding. And interestingly, there's a lot of data that I was reading in UK, especially, that 60% of the women who get divorced initiated during their menopausal years. So and you can understand why. There's a fatigue in a relationship that's happening, and you accumulate all the physical and mental changes, and it can all obviously have a negative impact on your relationships as well. Do you want to comment a little bit on that, how someone can really imbibe the spirituality?
Not just women, but all of us live an accelerated life according to a program. The movie The Matrix illustrates it very well. We live in a matrix that is not designed by us. Maybe ultimately it is from a high spiritual context, but when people are born, they don't know what they're getting into. And they're being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the answer of this kid is, I'm not being now, it's not enough what I am, so I have to do and do and do and do. So women get into this vertiginous experience of doing. First children, and that is a powerful job that women have. And then children grow up and it's the empty nest syndrome. And then menopause installs itself. And what happens is that if one has not looked for this in young years, it's more difficult in stressful years, but every crisis is an opportunity to transcend the limitations of the program that I was mentioning before. The program that wasn't created by us. Maybe it was just created for us by our parents and our teachers and our immediate society. But this has been going on for millennia. People are not focusing on who they are. They're getting enmeshed sometimes in a relationship. And of course, an enmeshed relationship doesn't give breathing space. And breathing space is fundamental because breathing is spirit. Breathing is spirit to elevate our attention, not just to the relationship, but to the process of living. There's something very important going on here. We're alive. We're living. We need to live our life. We need to enjoy our life. We need to love our life. And very few people have these notions. They are postponing current happiness for future rewards. And future rewards never come because they're always postponed.
Yes, absolutely. I think we are in the constant pursuit of something. There's inspiration, yeah, right? That, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get this. If I do this, and that's what the society has become globally, yes. Not only in the Western world, even in everywhere.
But
so
even in India.
Yes, so it's a constant pursuit of, and that is leading to unhappiness, and that's leading to all the stress and then hence the need for what you are talking about, that transmute spirituality of being hard. It amplifies that need for just being there, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, this is a quick 10-minute session, 10 to 15-minute session that we bring on a daily basis. Any last words from you? Any book that you want to show, or any program that you want to talk about that you're offering, or anything else that you want to say before we wrap up?
I recommend, since we're talking about this book, Recovery of the Sacred, which I wrote a little while ago, but it has lessons in soul awareness, and it has also a portion of my story. At least till I was 30. This happened before 30. I also offer 4 retreats a year here in Vista, in a beautiful place that I call Pardes, and people stay close by for 4 days, from Thursday to Sunday. And what we do is what I call inner work. And I guarantee you that a lot of the issues that people bring and problems that they're living end up disappearing. And my next retreat is in May. It's also a birthday celebration that I have. And curiously enough, a lot of students that I've been working with have birthdays around the same date. So from the 25th to the 26th, 27th, 28th of May, we have a retreat. And you can look at my website, drwarter.com, the details for enrolling. And, it comes from me, too close, but I recommend it because the students say, this is always the best. So they're going in crescendo.
Absolutely. And we would love to share the details on in the comments so that people don't have to memorize your website and they can go and click right there. So I'll be happy to do that. But thank you so much. I know you're very busy. I am honored to interview you, and with the constant pursuit of bringing the spiritual being, the understanding the soul transformation to everyone, not only to women. I know the platform is focused on women, but to everyone in the world. Thank you.
I thank you very much. I congratulate you for your initiative.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.